Hello, everybody. Today I am beginning a new masterclass on Vimshottari Dasha. Uh, Vimshottari Dasha is one of the most important ways to study time in Vedic astrology. How the karma is going to unfold at what time, what are the things that we can expect. So we always turn to Vimshottari Dasha about it. So this is a long masterclass. I will be looking at each individual dashas and the dashas and Antar dashas and carry on. So please join me. Hello, I'm Komilla Sutton, and we are talking Vimshottari Dasha. So do remember to subscribe, press the bell notification. You do not want to miss any one of these classes. This is a long master class. I will begin with an overview of Vimshottari Dasha today. Then we will look at all the dashas from Sun to Ketu. And then within the dashas, I will be looking at the sub-dashas as well, Antaras or Bhuktis as they are called. So a comprehensive study into Vimshottari Dasha. Many of you had emailed me. I had asked about topics to be covered and had emailed me that I should cover Vimshottari Dasha. So it is for you and for everybody else as well. So the basics of Vimshottari, firstly, is that Vim means 20, Shottari means 100. So this is giving an optimum life span of 120 years. Now, 120 years can be not that we live 120 years. Within that lifespan, we can live, a certain part of that 120 years. So the dashas is not necessarily that we experience all the dashas in this 120 years, but the overall scheme is of 120 years. Now, how this scheme evolved, nobody has really a precise answer for it. But I feel that one of the things that the sages took into account was the 10 Jupiter cycles. So Jupiter is the Jiva Atma, the living soul, and his one orbit is 12 years. So if you look at 10 times 12, it's 120 years. But in that, you see that the 5 times 12 is 60 years. So 60 years is a halfway point. So we have this cycle of the Vimshottari that first 60 years is breathing in, and the next 60 years is breathing out. And you could take that the 60th birthday of every soul becomes very important. Of course, not all souls live to be 60, but that is the halfway point. And of course, you live as long as you're meant to be there. You know, when your karma is exhausted, you don't have any reason to live any longer. So that is the Vedic thought process. It's not my thought process, so this is something that we have to think about, that the 120 years, why they evolved it. And there are many theories about it, and I'm not disagreeing with any, but this is my little two-bit into it. So this Vimshottari Dasha, all 9 planets, the Navagraha, rule particular times in it. And this time is not equal, it is unequal. Again, there is no idea why this time was decided. People have written a lot about it, and I'll leave you to look at those writings. But I take it that it is Vedic knowledge, so I accept it and I work with it according to the principles laid down by sage Parashar. So Vimshottari Dasha is decided, the start of Vimshottari Dasha is decided from the moon's position in your birth chart, and the moon and its nakshatra. So your moon will be in a particular nakshatra, and the ruler of that nakshatra decides what is going to be your first dasha. And however much the moon has traveled into that nakshatra, that will calculate how many years balance you have got left of that particular dasha to experience. So that is the beginning, and each of the planets have its own time that the dasha will be there. So sun is 6 years, moon is 10, Mars is 7, Rahu is 18, Jupiter is 16, Saturn is 19, Mercury 17, Ketu is 7, Venus is 20. So this is in this order that you experience the dasha. So always the dasha order is the same. Starts with Sun, Moon, Mars, Rahu, Jupiter, Saturn, Mercury, Ketu, and Venus. And depending on where your dasha starts, you see, if your moon, let's say, is in Mrigasira Nakshatra. Mrigasira is ruled by Mars, and it has moved, let's say it is in the first pada of Gemini, Mrigasira. That means half of Mrigasira you already experienced. So you are only going to experience approximately 3.5 years, maybe less, of Mars Dasha at birth. How to calculate it is in my book, Essentials of Vedic Astrology, and you can get it online from most of the retailers. And so you can find out how to exactly calculate it. It's difficult to do it on the online class. But once you know your dashas, and most number of free sites are available online, you can print out your dashas from it. So once your dashas are there, then you can see how the karma is going to unfold. So starting from the young age, how this energy unfolds, what planet is going to be active at what time, what is going to be your experience. Now, the thing is this, that each dasha, because it is so long, it has Antar Dasha. Antar Dasha is the inner dasha. It also is called Bhukti. Bhukti means what you are experiencing. So the Antar Dasha is very important, and in my subsequent classes I will talk about each planet and the Antar Dashas within the Vimshottari Dasha. So the dasha is called Maha Dasha. That is when we say dasha, we really mean Maha Dasha. And the speech is, I am in Jupiter Saturn. You won't say Jupiter Mahadasha, Saturn, Antar Dasha, just Jupiter Saturn, then the astrologer and astrology students all understand what it is about. So looking at these dashas, what you see is that there's 5 levels of internal dashas. There are more even, but 5 levels are acceptable mostly. That you have the Mahadasha, Antardasha, Prayantara Dasha, Sokshma Dasha, and Prana Dasha. So these are telling the wheel within wheel of time is moving faster and faster. So the Mahadasha, so let's say Jupiter Dasha is 16 years long. So over 16 years, you are going to experience the Mahadasha of Jupiter. So Jupiter is going to be the leading planet during that time. But during that 16 years, the timing is divided by the Antardashas or Bhuktis. So Antardashas are shorter periods of time, maybe sometimes 1 year, sometimes longer, 2 years, 2.5 years. Everything is divided proportionally, because if say Venus has 20 years of dasha, so its time within Jupiter's dasha will be proportional. So Jupiter dasha will start, so Jupiter Mahadasha will start with Jupiter Antardasha. So the first experience is always of intensity of that planet. And then you would look at the other dashas that follow in sequence only. So after Jupiter comes Saturn, after Saturn comes Mercury, then Ketu. So it's always the same order, what we call the Dasha order or the Nakshatra rulership order. This is the same rulership that comes. And when we are looking at each of the planets, I will explain that in detail of how this dashas, each one will affect you. So as your birth chart is the template of your karma, then when is this karma going to be released? Depends on the dasha, on the Antar Dasha. Then the Prayantara Dasha is also important when I'm looking at annual charts and I'm studying what is going to happen in a year. Then we study the Antar Dasha as well, and Prayantara Dasha as well, because then the shorter periods of time, 2 months, 1 month, 3 months, what is happening there. So it's defining the time. And you can think about it is that it's like a zoom lens and you come closer and closer. So you're seeing more and more information. However, time of birth has to be right to see the others. The Sokshma and Prana Dasha. Although I find that especially Sokshma, I look at it when somebody's saying, what is happening to me now? Life was going fine and just now these 2-3 days is really difficult. Then I look at the fourth level to see, are you not getting Ketu, or is it Rahu come in, or suddenly Shani has come in? Those are very few. It lasts a much shorter time. But it's very interesting to study that and to develop that. So this Vimshottari system is such a sophisticated system, and it is so precise. Because one of the things is that in Vimshottari is that it is about the mind and how the mind gets influenced by the karma, by the environment, and the changing quality of the mind. And I have found that it is very precise in timing. The mistake is usually done by, I would say, the analyzer. So if I'm looking at something, I could see it wrong. The dasha is giving you the message, but sometimes, we allow our own mind to interfere with our mind. So that is something that you have to be conscious of. But it is such a fantastic system. And if you have your dashas with you, I would say that you should check all the important events, what time happened, what were the dashas, what were the antaras, prayantaras, because then you get a very comprehensive understanding of your chart as well, and how that energy will release itself. And then, what is really important is that when you're looking at the dashas, and especially you're looking at the future dashas, what are happening, you can also plan to do the remedy according to what you're seeing ahead. I remember when I started studying Jyotish in 1979, so this is many years ago, many of you are not born as well, and my Guruji said I have to do Saturn remedy, because Saturn was going to come into my dasha. And he said, you're going to be a changed person, way more serious and less fun-loving and all that. And because Shani was going to come. And I started fasting for Saturn, and I started doing that for many years ago. And so you are taking a proactive stand. If you see especially something difficult, complex, and even if you, understand what is happening. So sometimes, one is always looking at these Mahadashas with some fear and anxiety, because we're always worried about the future. But the whole idea is that if you are understanding their flow and the rhythm of the dashas, and when your time changes, that is most important. Then because the Vimshottari Dasha is decided from the moon and Nakshatra, when you're studying any Vimshottari Dasha, you must see what Nakshatra the planet is in and what is the lord of the Dasha. So for example, we keep Jupiter as example. If Jupiter is in Capricorn, and it is in Uttarashada. Uttarashada is ruled by Sun. So if in your chart you have exalted Sun, and Sun is your Lagna Lord or fifth Lord, a good planet for you, then even though Jupiter is in Capricorn, it's debilitated sign, the nakshatra support is very important. And studying the nakshatra position of your dasha lord is most important to see. Therefore, for dasha, for Antara, for Prayantara, you have to look at, and then you want to see where have they gone in the Navamsha, where the dasha lord is in the Navamsha, where your Antara lord is in the Navamsha, because there's a lot of in-depth aspect of study. You can't just look at the Rashi chart. And Jyotish is so deep and so analytical, and we can unravel our life history by looking at these dashas as well. And then if you are looking for specific, say you want to see about career, or you want to look at children. So for career, you can study for the Dashamsha chart. You can look at children for Saptamsha chart. There are all these other Vargas, difficult karma for Trimshamsha chart, talents also. So you can look in your Varga charts, and I like to look at the Varga charts to see where the Dasha Lord is strong, because sometimes Dasha Lord may not be so strong in the Rashi chart, but the internal picture is different. So you are going to look at that aspect and study that and see where the Dasha Lord is strong. And I will talk about this more when we are talking about each of the dashas and each of the planets, and discuss it further. And because the moon is the lord of the nakshatras, and moon is what starts the dasha off, it is very important to analyze your own natal moon. And what is your moon's position? What is the dignity of the moon? Is it got some difficult conjunctions? And most importantly is, what are you doing about your moon? What are the remedies you are doing? How are you looking after your moon, your mind? Because if you are not bothering about your mind, and your lifestyle is so crazy, it is going to affect all your dashas, because the underlying lord is the moon. So the underlying planet that is not just the moon, it is your mind. So for you to enjoy this dasha unfolding, enjoy your life, you should all consider doing some remedy for the moon. And some simple remedies for the moon is good lifestyle choices, simplified life, food that you eat, what a good food, but not heavy food, but good sattvic food, and many other things. I will have made various videos about remedies. I'll put a link here that you can look at it. So it is important that your moon, sometimes, you may have a moon Saturn conjunction or a moon Rahu conjunction in your chart, or any difficult conjunction, that is underlying affecting all the quality of your experience. So it is important that you do the remedy for the moon. And at the end of this course, I'll also talk about remedies. And in Brihat Parashar Hora Shastra, Sage Parashar has emphasized remedies for each dasha. So I will be talking about that as well, and giving some common sense remedies as well for each of the dasha lords, so that you're working with it and developing it. And then one very important time to watch out for your dasha is the end of the dasha and the beginning of the new dasha. This is called Chidra Dasha. Chidra is when the cloth has got worn, and it is like when the cloth gets worn, if you put your hand, touch it, it tears. So at the end of the dasha, you are in Chidra Dasha, where the planet is exhausted, you can say. And that area, the junction point between the end of one dasha, beginning of the next dasha, these are all very complicated times. So you have to pay extra attention to that and to be conscious of that energy. Because if you ignore that, then you are not going to be able to really understand the change. Basically, what is happening is when the dashas change, so let's say from Jupiter you go on to Saturn. Now, for 16 years, you had a mindset that this is Jupiter and it's expansive and it's easy, and Jupiter will give life relatively easier. Then Saturn comes, who's more disciplinarian and strict, and he's setting a whole new set of rules. Now, what is the greatness of Jyotish is that it tells you that these rules have changed. So you can understand that now my old behavior, old way of being is no longer going to be important. My new energy is coming in, but that transition phase, that is most important. Everybody makes mistakes at the end of the dasha, because as the dashas are ending, you're thinking, oh, I need to make lots of changes, and you make them change when you are not aware what is the change you want, because the new dasha is going to change how you think, your mindset, circumstances. And if you're anticipating a difficult dasha, then to do the remedy for it is very important. And so that, I would say, is the most key factor about the change, because the season has changed. So if it was summer and gone winter, you need warm clothes. If it's winter to summer, you need a different aspect. So, you've got to see that changeover aspect of it. So throughout the course, I will be talking about this, and I'll be discussing all the 9 dashas first, and then you can also give me some suggestions. What else? Sometimes, one misses out something, so it's very invaluable that you send me some things that you want me to add. And then as an end of this course, I will add extra video to add anything that you have asked as well. So thanks again, and do remember to press the bell notification, subscribe, because you don't want to miss this, and it is going to be long and very useful for all of you. Thank you.